All right. So thank you for joining me around these group healings for relationship dynamics. This is our 4th week, and I'm so grateful and excited. We've been sharing the shifts that we've had in the last 3 weeks, and I'm so thrilled to offer shifts and clearings and healing around our relationship with money, our resources, and abundance. We're going to do things like releasing our vows of poverty, or any of our money stories, agreements, or beliefs around scarcity and lack. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our ability to co-create miracles. So I'm really excited. We're going to just grab out our oils, settle into our seat, and take a few cleansing breaths. It's always a good idea to have water nearby. And then we're going to get started. So for the purpose of the recording, everyone who maybe is new to this, the source that I connect to is divine unconditional love. And I really have a connection to Jesus Christ, and I work with that divine unconditional love and collective wisdom that I see demonstrated in the life of Jesus, who I feel is the embodiment of that love and wisdom. And then the spirit that I connect to is Holy Spirit. So that's my source. I respect your agency and your understanding of your source. So when I invite us to connect to our source, you just connect to the source that you know and feel comfortable with, and receive your healing through. So we're going to begin. I'm going to pull some oils, and I use my muscle test out of the list in the back of Oils and Emotions. So if you're familiar with muscle testing, you can do this too. And I always ask for permission to connect to your energy, and I'll be pulling oils that are for the collective, the group of people on the call and the replay, and then we will send that healing out to our posterity and anyone who chooses to receive that healing for themselves. Sorry, I went backwards. Our posterity, so our family, and then our family lineage as well, and then out to the global collective. So I've said this a bunch in the calls we did not record, so I wanted to go back over that quickly for the call recording. All right, so fennel is our first. Oh, I love this one. Okay, so fennel, the reason we would use fennel for clearing money story is that fennel helps us connect to the and be in tune with the messages that we receive in our body. So there's times when we feel in our gut something is a good idea or not a good idea, something is for us or in alignment with our values, or something is not, and we neglect that a lot of times. And so fennel is going to help us connect and be in tune with the messages that we receive in our body through our intuition. And that's how we were designed. So that comes directly from our source. So we're going to apply fennel to our solar plexus and our sacral chakra. So sacral is like below belly button, and then solar plexus is our stomach. And we're applying this with the intention that we choose to honor the wisdom of the messages we receive in our body. Okay. Next oil is Litsea. And if you don't have Litsea on its own, it's also in the DDR Prime blend. And it's in the stronger blend, the kids blend, the red one. So those are 2 other sources that you could use for Litsea. And this is for where we felt blocked in our money story. So whether it's by circumstances, upbringing, habitual patterns, maybe our partner. There could be all kinds of reasons that we feel blocked. And Litsia helps us to be aligned. So one thing I really love is that even though, so I'm gonna, like, I always try to do like devil's advocate or worst case scenario for contrast purposes. So even though, let's just say, we have all these generational vows of poverty, or we have a long family line of people who lived in poverty, inherited that mindset, scarcity mindset, things of that nature. Say, even if that's true, and even if my current circumstances are very like bleak or meager, or feels like we're pushing the boulder up the hill and never making any progress, or it just keeps rolling back on top of us, or something will come, we'll get to a point, we'll hit our upper limit, and then for whatever reason, something will happen and it will sabotage, and that continues to be a pattern. Say, even though if all of that is true, what we can do is align with our source. And it's like, say you're lost in a dark cave, and all you have to do is connect to your source, and it's like our source comes into that cave with the headlamp. And like if you've been on like the Hiawatha Trail or something, and like you have to ride your bike through this dark tunnel, it's a mile long, and you've got your headlamp, that's all you can see. If you don't have the headlamp, you're groping around, and there's like these little ditches or culverts on the side you could fall into. It's not fun. So like if you're connected to your source, it's like someone came back into that cave, took your hand, and they have the headlamp, and they're shining the light on the next part of the path for you. And as long as you're connected to the source and you're looking at the light and you're in alignment with the directions that they're giving you, you can see the next right step, and the next right step, and the next right step. And pretty soon you're navigating your way out of the darkness, and you're being in alignment with the path that is going to put you into a different pattern, a different heritage. You can break generational chains and cycles with your agency. Because just because your ancestors made agreements with poverty doesn't mean that you have to be stuck in them. And the reason I believe this, because there's people that talk about contracts and archetypes and things, and they say like, this is your karmic destiny, like this is your basically your lot in life. And I think it's useful to see it as a map, but to realize that because of agency, and for me, like if you want to take it even deeper, because of what Jesus did on the cross, like all debts are paid and all contracts are fulfilled. And you can actually go like spiritually, emotionally, mentally, you can even just like go to all those ancestors. Someone talked about like putting them on a stage and saying, hey, my contract with you is done. My contract with you is done. And they talk about the idea of paid in full, like a debt being paid in full. And it's like, I don't have to do this anymore. So because of our agency, and for me, because of what Jesus did, I feel like collectively, no one has to be stuck in those contracts unless they choose to be. And so Litsia helps us realize that we are no longer blocked when we connect to our source and align with the inspiration we receive to do the next right thing, the next right thing. And so I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to have us put it on the insides of our ankles, like starting at the bone and going about 3 finger widths up. And you start say at the top finger, And you go from the back of your ankle to the front, circular motion. And then we'll do that on both sides. And then we'll do like a figure 8 where we'll do one ankle at a time. And then we'll move down and do that and just do Litsky on all of it. And if that's complicated, just do circular motions over your whole ankle, and then we'll do this over it in a minute. I'll tell you when we switch. But just coat those ankles with Litsky, because this is all about like how we feel supported. And the first one is I am supported by my community. The second one down is I am supported by my loved ones. I am never alone. And then the third one is I am supported by my higher power. And I am in flow. So we're infusing that aligned choice. Like we're choosing from our own free will and our agency to align with principles of abundance, and that all of our needs are provided for. And so you can just like, I don't know if you can see my feet, but you can just like rub it this way and then move down and then move down over that bone on both sides with the idea that we are supported. There's no more contract or agreement with poverty. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions or comments. I feel like somebody has something they want to say. Anybody? Okay. And then we'll go like this. And this is basically like releasing us from our part of the agreement. So like, please forgive me for agreeing with this, for making decisions on autopilot, or because I felt like I had no other options, or because it's what I always saw, or what I knew, what felt familiar, what felt safe. It's okay to say, I did the best I could with what I knew, and now that I know differently, I'm going to do differently. And then we're just going to use our fingertips on over that whole area and affirm that I am supported by my community. I'm supported by my loved ones. I'm never alone. And I am supported by my higher power, and I am in flow. That's a little excerpt from Flowology. And I've been working with those points lately too, and it's like that situation that I shared with my family member, that that's where I was applying oils with intention for that as well. Okay, so the next one is Melissa. Do you have Melissa? If you do not have Melissa, it is in, I think it's in the Arise blend, in the Yoga Trio. It's probably in at least one of the kids' ones too. Does anybody know off the top of their head any other blends that have Melissa in them? Is it in Immortelle? No. What about Purify? I mean, HD Clear. Nope. Okay. Well, if you don't have Melissa, you could try Roman Chamomile. But if you have Melissa, let's do that one. And then this one is going to go on our third eye here. I like on my forehead, like right below my hairline, right into my hairline, and then on the top on my crown. and then on the back of my neck. I want all the messages I receive to be enlightened. I want to hear messages in alignment with truth and light, and any darkness or confusion that I feel, we're asking with the intention with Melissa that the light is shown on truth, and that all those false stories and negative ideas will be cleared. Okay. Now we're going to clear some stuck emotions, most likely generational. Yeah. And I use magnets and I swipe them over the main meridian here, but you can also use your hand. Usually I have hematite because it's magnetic, and I love the healing properties of hematite. But the hand works just fine. Okay. This is an inherited emotion from the group, so we all share it in common, of being taken for granted. Okay, and then we're going to say this affirmation, so you can just repeat it to yourself or out loud if you'd like. I ask to release the inherited emotion of taken for granted. Release it from me, my posterity, my ancestors, all the way back to whom it was originated. I ask that any and all damage created by the inherited emotion of taken for granted might be healed completely through divine channels and return to the state of our original blueprint. Okay. This is for the whole group. It's a stuck emotion of terror. So some of us have terror, all of us have terror around financial things. So we're going to sweep over the main meridian 3 times. And then with the affirmation, I ask to release the stuck emotion of terror. Release it from me, my posterity, and my ancestors, all the way back to whom it was originated. I ask that any and all damage created by the stuck emotion of terror might be healed completely through divine channels and return to the state of our original blueprint. Okay. And we're going to settle in, take some deep breaths, and get into kind of like how you would go into a theta state with you're getting ready to go into a meditation. And then I'm going to read some downloads of how, like, because sometimes when you're trying to manifest, if you don't know what it feels like or have ever experienced this before, it's difficult to manifest. You end up manifesting what you don't want because you know what that feels like. So we're asking our creator to install basically like downloads of, I know what it feels like. I know what the creator's idea for this is. So we're asking to receive these downloads, and it's of your agency. So for people on the call, you can listen to them, and if they sound good to you, if I say, are you ready to receive these downloads? You can say yes, and if they don't sound good, just say no. And it's of your agency. I'm not downloading anything into you that you do not want or do not allow, okay? So take a couple deep breaths. And however you best connect into your source, just imagine that being done. I just like to imagine I'm plugged in to the outlet up in heaven, but also within my heart of my creator. So I understand the creator's definition of having support. I understand what it feels like to have support. I know what support is. I know how to be supported in the highest and best way. I know how to live my daily life with support. I know the Creator's perspective on support, and I know it is possible to be supported. You ready to receive these downloads? Okay, and then I have some in my other pillow. Okay, this is a process to release oaths and vows and curses. So sometimes a curse can just be like words spoken over someone, like you'll never amount to anything, or it can be anything like that. Like that's actually a curse, and that's why we want to be really careful with what we say, because just like the universe was spoken into existence with a word, we can create and destroy with our words. And so with this process, we're going to be connected to our source, and the way it's worded is it is commanded. It's not like we're telling our creator what to do, but we are affirming our agency and our choice, and we're asking the creator to do this on our behalf. So if you don't like the wording commanded, you can say, it is my agency to ask that this curse be or vow be removed. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to read it as it was written. Okay, so we're going to center ourselves in our heart and visualize going down into Mother Earth, which is a part of all that is. Then we visualize bringing up energy through our feet, opening each chakra to the crown chakra. And then in a beautiful ball of light, we go out into the universe and we connect to the creator of all that is on the seventh plane of existence, or the third heaven, or however you like to say that, just in the space of divine unconditional love that is pure and without any nuance. And we make the command, creator of all that is, it is commanded that the curse or vow, and then you put your name here, that I have be removed from me, from all that I am. It is completed and no longer needed. Thank you. It is done. It is done. It is done. Now take a deep breath. We move our consciousness back into our own space. So we come back into ourself. I never leave myself when I'm connecting to source, but some people do. And then we go into our space and we tell that curse or vow that it is completed and finished. We witness the energy of that curse or vow being removed from all 4 belief levels, from our physical DNA outward into our auric field. So take a moment and visualize that. We witness the curse or vow being pushed out through our feet, and then we gather it up in a ball of light and send it into God's light, or Source's light, never to return, to be transformed into love and light. And as soon as you've finished, go ahead and rinse yourself off. I just imagine divine unconditional love just rinsing me off like a shower. Make sure you're back in your space. And then you go into the earth and pull earth energy up through your chakras, out your crown. And then I imagine it just going all around me and connecting in with my root. And then I make an energy break from the earth and from anyone else. Like if you're doing this with someone else, you break from them. I'm going to take a couple deep cleansing breaths. Okay. And then we're going to install some downloads around worry, because we aren't going to want to take these thoughts and worries back after we've broken agreements with them and broken any curses and vows that we've made. So we want to install that we know how it is to not worry. So go ahead and settle in. It does no good to worry. Worries vanish from my mind. I understand what it feels like to be free from worry. I know how to live my daily life without worry. I know it is possible to live without worry. I understand what it feels like to have a healthy outlook on life. I understand what it feels like to not permit others to bring me down. I'm going to read that again. I understand what it feels like not to permit others to bring me down. I understand what it feels like never to give up. I understand how to live my life full of goodness and hope. I understand what it feels like to be a responsible person. I understand what it feels like to believe in myself. I understand what it feels like to be respected by others. I understand what it feels like to have fortitude and wisdom. I understand what it feels like to receive productive and positive thoughts from the Creator daily. I know it is possible for my known and unknown senses to seek positive feelings. I understand how to have balance in all aspects of my life. I understand the difference between concern and worry. I understand what it feels like to view the future in a positive light. I understand what it feels like to be infused with positive thinking. I understand what it feels like to be at one with life, past, present, and future. I understand what it feels like to co-create my destiny through the creator of all that is. Are you ready to receive these downloads? Now these are about value. I understand the creator's definition of the value of all things. I understand what it feels like to have value. I know what value is. I know how to live my daily life valuing life. I know the creator's perspective on value, and I know it is possible to have value. You ready to receive these downloads? And then here's a quick one on time management before we wrap up. I know how to plan my time wisely. I know how to create quiet time without interruptions. I have plenty of time. I am the master of my schedule. I know how to start with today and plan for tomorrow. Planning gives me more fun time. I am flexible and persistent. I recognize and deal with conflicting demands. It is always possible. I know how to set my own priorities. Planning gives me maximum benefits from minimum time. I take action steps now. I am confident in my judgment and priorities. Are you ready to receive these downloads? Okay, so then we're going to energetically disconnect from one another and make sure we're back in our bodies and all centered. I like to add frankincense or balance to the bottoms of my feet just to hold myself in my body and make sure I'm grounded. All right. So in this 4 weeks, we've done a lot of groundwork as a group for our generational lines and our lineages. So together we offer these chain-breaking healings back to our ancestors and any who would like to receive it, and forward to our posterity and our generational lines. And then we offer it out to the collective and anyone through any time who would like to receive this on their behalf, who's ready to receive this for the highest and best and the good of all. So we've already noticed some significant changes in these short weeks, and I look forward to hearing more from you. So I'd love to hear feedback throughout the coming weeks and months and see how things have shifted for you. And I'm so grateful for everyone who's joined us. I am going to be beginning a 12-week women's healing journey that's specifically focused on relationships and relationship dynamics. And I have a year-long going on as well that's going to encompass more, but the 12-week will start on May 20th, and it is going to be just a really deep dive into what we've done. But then we can go specific to each person, because in these workshops we've done group clearings from what we all have in common. In the 12-week, we'll actually go into individual clearings. So thank you so much for being with us this 4 weeks, and I look forward to hearing from you and seeing and witnessing the miracles that you co-create moving forward now that you're freed up in these relationship dynamics. Right, love you all.